Welcome back to the Franky and Noah Premier Game of the Week preview show. Noah, welcome back. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I'm chilling. It's a Thursday afternoon. Some Europa League games going on today. Spurs got to win. There's some really important games this weekend in the Premier League, so that's why we're back, Frankie.
That's wonderful.
How are you doing? Are you doing all right?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing fantastic. I love that you're very consistent with your t-shirts. I obviously don't have too many, but I have this Barcelona and the other Barcelona shirt that I have. But I'm going to call out my friends in Spain. Tinc amics que volen enviar-me camisetes del València, que me'ls envien, del Villarreal, que siga, del Saragossa, del Elx. Envieu-me les camisetes que fan falta que me les posaré. Gràcies. So I was just basically asking people to send me free shirts. And I'll wear them because I only have a few. Noah, what is the game of the week?
The game of the week easily this week. Got a couple of good ones. We got Man United Everton. We got Arsenal versus Aston Villa. But easily Manchester City versus Liverpool. Frankie, it's no secret. This is definitely the game of the week. Could be the game of the first half of the season. These are two teams that obviously are competing for the Premier League. They've won the last 3 leagues between the two teams. And they've both gotten off to okay starts. Liverpool's obviously in first place. That's what I guess we can go into. Liverpool's in first place. Manchester City in 10th place. A big difference from where they usually would be at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So let me tell you, this is a great game. Obviously, I've been waiting all year and all season long for it, right? This is in particular one because you have the best teams in the league. And then they've been pretty much facing each other for the past 5 years. It's been a big contention. They've been neck to neck, right? Fighting for the Premier, fighting for cups, for everything. I mean, a lot of rivalry, right?
No, yeah. I mean, these are two. The more modern rivalry in the Premier League, I'd say about 15 years ago, is that Manchester United with Ferguson versus Arsenal's Invincibles. And now it's kind of progressed into the modern version, much, I guess present, but it's Guardiola's City and Klopp's Liverpool. Of course, they've been going at it. They've been the ones challenging for the league in the last couple of years. And so you're looking at the last couple of fixtures. The last time they played was 4-0 Manchester City. That's a result to come off of, don't you think? They're definitely going to be thinking about that.
I think that is totally right. And here's one thing that I love about both of these teams is that I love their coaches. I think Klopp and Guardiola, Pep, they're my favorite coaches in the Premier League right now so far. I mean, it's awesome to see them, how they put in command their teams and how these guys play, because very tactical, really smart guys, both of them, fairly young. They connect with the players, and that's so important, right?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
So tell me a little bit. There's a lot of stats, man. You ran some unbelievable stats. I love the fact that you really dig in there and you got numbers up the wazoo, and I love when you actually come in prepared and share those numbers. So why don't we get right at it, man?
Yeah, I think one thing to take into consideration is Manchester City are playing at home, and Manchester City haven't lost at home to Liverpool in, like you said, 5 years. The last time Liverpool beat Manchester City at home was November 21st, 2015. So 5 years ago, Frankie, that's something you got to take into consideration before we're looking at how they're playing right now. The last time Liverpool actually went in there and won was 5 years ago. Looking at how
So let me just say one thing, interject there for a second. I think just because of the pandemic, right, and COVID and the feels, obviously the stadiums being empty of fans, I don't think that home advantage is a factor right now at this point, because I've always seen home advantages because you have your fans playing on your behalf, right? And I don't see it this time around. So I think that in that case, it's neutral. I don't know about home advantage or away or home game, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I think that's a good point. It's definitely not the same without the fans.
So let's talk a little bit about those records. What's going on with Man City and Liverpool?
Look, Manchester City and Liverpool. Man City has played 1 less game, so all these stats are going to be 6 games played for City, 7 played for Liverpool, but just 1 match in between. So City do have a game in hand on Liverpool. But Manchester City have scored 9 goals in 6 games. Not too bad. They're giving them a 1.50 goal per game ratio. Liverpool have 17 goals in 7 games. That's giving them 2.43 goals per game. So Liverpool are almost getting 2.5 goals on average per game. That's 17 in 7 games. That's a lot. That's 3rd best in the league. Manchester City have only scored 9 in 6. They got to be scoring more. That's definitely a weak point. Manchester City usually are full of tenacity and their attack is brilliant, and right now they're kind of lacking that.
Okay.
And looking at the defense, contrasting that, you've got Manchester City who've conceded 8 in 6. That gives them 1.33 per game, so not too bad. Actually, okay defensively from Guardiola, but could be better. And Liverpool, shockingly, have conceded 15 goals in 7 games, giving them a 2.14, almost over 2 goals per game. conceding, and that's the third highest in the league, Frankie, only behind bottom dwellers West Brom and Manchester United, who thankfully we don't have to talk about this week. But Liverpool are right there. They're just as bad with their defensive record.
No kidding. That's a pretty interesting stat because I really haven't been looking at it, right? But 133 conceded goals on average. That's pretty low, but you really haven't offset it because you really haven't scored that many goals either to offset it, and you're only 1.5. You're pretty much tying, right? And that can pretty much, the score can tell you. It's a 3-2-1, right? Record for Man City. And then you jump into Liverpool. Yeah, they have one more game, but it's a 5-1-1, so you're actually seeing. But what's so surprising is that they've actually taken 2.14 goals. Wow, dude. These guys have a big hole in the back.
Without Van Dijk, I mean, Van Dijk is one of the best center backs in the world. There's no debate. And he scores goals too, Frankie. And that obviously isn't a problem for Liverpool, but his presence on the field is unlike anything else. It's no wonder why they're struggling defensively. On top of that, Fabinho is also hurt. He's their backup center back for Van Dijk. They're missing two crucial defenders for them. And honestly...
Are they going to be back this week?
They're not going to be back this week. Van Dijk is out for the season. He tore his ACL. He's out for the season. Fabinho will be out. Will be back in a couple weeks, but Van Dijk is out. So it's up to see if Liverpool can survive until January, until they can buy a new center back. That's going to have to be the plan for Liverpool.
Let me ask you a dumb question, but was Van Dijk playing when they got killed this year?
Yes, he was. He was there when they lost 7-1.
So he wasn't. So nothing
there
lost.
Holes,
really?
No. That
a
is
lot
actually,
of hope for not having him on the field.
The thing is, Liverpool looked to have so many holes with him on the field, and now that he's gone, it's a glaring hole. And they won 5-0 against Atalanta on the on the weekday. That was great, and it was a clean sheet. But the defense is going to be questioned in the Premier League time in, time out. Manchester City are definitely going to question them. I mean, because look at these shots per game. Manchester City have 15.83 shots per game. That's the second in the league. 15, almost 16 shots per game. That's insane. The first place in the league, well, that's actually Liverpool. Their attacks still are flying because that front three is always going to be attacking. And 17 shots per game, I mean...
No kidding.
Ederson is going to have work this game. Ederson's going to have to work this game.
That's fantastic. Let's move on to more statistics. You have something here about completed passes and possessions. What's going on with that?
Yeah, Guardiola always been a possession-based coach. We know that's how he's going to play. Yeah, and that's why they have the highest completed percentage of passing in the league. They have 86.8. Whether it's forward or backwards, they complete their passes. They've got De Bruyne, Gundogan in the midfield. These guys are just tick, 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 and they just move the ball. So, of course, City are going to, have the highest percentage. It's about what you do with that. And Liverpool have fifth and the best in the league with this stat. They have 84.5% of their passes completed. That's not too bad. I think that's just more to compare that City have the first best, and Liverpool kind of have the fifth best. They're not that far off. And again, they also have the highest possessions in the league, both teams. Right. Manchester City have 63.2 on average. Liverpool have 62.3 on average. These are two teams that want the ball. They need the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see which team holds the ball more, which team makes the best out of the spells they have with the ball in the game.
Okay. I think that's pretty interesting, the fact that it's... the standings are not necessarily accurate based on the statistics, right? Because, City number 11,
They're
Liverpool number
place.
1, 10th place, number 1.
They're very similar. As you can see, the stats are almost the same, but Manchester City are 10 places off. It's got to be because Manchester City haven't been as clinical this year, and that's been City's problem, really.
I agree with that. They've been actually lethargic. I don't know what's going on with them.
I think it's that Pep Guardiola being around for, I think this is his fourth season. It's what happened at Barcelona. It happened at Bayern Munich. The fatigue starts to set in. And at Bayern Munich, when he didn't win a Champions League, after a couple of seasons, it was time to go. Manchester City's no different. So I think if they don't get a Champions League this year, we could be looking at someone new for Pep Guardiola. Some more attacking stats. In the final third, Liverpool have the most touches in the league. They've got 1696, 1600, almost 1700. They love touching the ball in the opponent's half and in the final third, of course. Manchester City are second in the league with 1407. So they're right there. Those stats are also very close. Even though, like we just said, City is a little far off, these stats are very similar. It shows how good these teams can be on their days, most days when they are good.
Yeah, well, there's about a 200 average per game, right? It seems like on both sides. So if City were, count one more game, it could be very, very, very close. So yeah, these guys are pretty much neck to neck. What else do you have here? You actually have successful dribbles. I love that stat. What's going on with that?
Successful dribbles is basically just every time a player gets a guy, takes him on, and gets to the next, and then releases a pass. Every dribble is every player. So you dribble 3 guys, it's 3 different dribbles. So
okay, and who has the most?
The most in the league, I believe it was Chelsea. The second most in the league is Manchester City with 93. And the player on the most on that team is Phil Foden. Phil Foden, who's one of the youngest players on this City team. He's not even supposed to be one of the superstars of the team, is really stepping up this season. He's been their lightning bolt in their kind of lethargicness, like you said.
Wow, that's amazing. So this guy, first of all, I love watching this kid play, right? He's just... he's active. He's versatile.
Yeah.
His movement. He's quick with the ball. It's just such a complete player, right? Who doesn't love to see this guy play? I love to see him play. How about on Liverpool? Who's actually standing out here? Who has the most dribbles?
Liverpool have the 4th most in the league, 84. Even with Man City having a game in hand, Man City have a lot more than Liverpool, at least by a couple. And the one who have the most dribbles for Liverpool, are Mane and Salah. They both have 17. So they have one less than Foden, but they've got 2 guys that have 17 equal. Obviously, we know Salah and Mane, how good those guys are. We know what they do.
Man, I'll tell you one thing. Salah's probably one of my favorite players right now in the Premier League. I enjoy watching him. He's not doing bad at all, right? No. He's actually doing pretty good in the fantasy soccer standings, and he's got a lot of points. But, I mean, it's great to see him play. I can't wait to see this game. I'll be honest with you. I'm already excited. I wish it was Sunday already.
One thing to just realize about Liverpool's dribbling stats, though, is that they've got 2 players with 17 completed dribbles, and then their fall off is all the way to Roberto Firmino with 9. Manchester City have about 5 players over 15 successful dribbles. Liverpool have Salah, Mane, 17. Their third best is 9 with Firmino. So we're going to need to see another third player step up for Liverpool if we're going to, see them do well. And that leads us into the defensive stats, because Franky, I think we really see where these 2 teams haven't been themselves. We can read the passing, the shooting, the dribbling, but really both of these teams are attacking teams, and the defensive stats need to be looked at with some actual precaution. Manchester City have the 19th in the league, 97 tackles. Just tackling the ball away from a player, 97 tackles. I mean, that's got to be pretty low. 19th, second worst in the league, and they're a title competitor. That's not the defense of a title championship team, that's for sure.
Okay, what else?
Liverpool, they've got 14th most. They're middle of the table, but still second half. They're in 14th with 112 tackles. That comes down to Van Dijk missing games. That comes down to inexperienced Liverpool defenders. The wingbacks, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, aren't exactly defensive outside backs. So, the tackles alone need to be addressed. I think both coaches need to get their teams a little bit more physical whenever the opposition has the ball around their box.
What this tells me, Noah, a little bit, and I think we can all see it, right? It really is telling about the style, right, of each game, right? I mean, you have the tiki-taka, which is all about possession, moving the ball forward. I mean, you don't really find that much time. I mean, Man City, you're not going to see a lot of the opponents, the Man City opponents, be on their side of the field and attacking for too long, right? They pretty much...
They love to hold the ball.
They love to hold the ball, and it's all about possession, right? And moving forward. So there's really not that many opportunities to really take that ball away if I actually are intercept because of possession, right? It just goes hand in hand. That's a little bit of an observation there. But passes blocked, something very interesting. That's how tenacious these defenders are. Who's leading on that score?
I mean, City have the lowest passes in the league. They have 60 blocks. You can look at the stat and think it's, irrelevant. I think I look at this stat and I see a little bit, to me, it's a lazy stat. These are stats to just get back into position, back into space, back into shape, to cut off angles, to cut off passes. And having the least amount of blocks of passes in the league has got to show, like we said, a little bit of lazy defending from Manchester City. Liverpool, they're not far away. They've only got the 18th highest, so literally 2 spots ahead of Manchester City, only 92 blocks. Again, Manchester City and Liverpool, both defenses haven't been where they need to be. And that really shows this is for me an incredible stat. And it's the percentage of aerial wins, Frankie. And for me, I'm just saying how many times a player goes up for the header with another guy and when your team wins the ball. City have the 3rd highest win percentage in the league. They have 58% of their aerial duels won. So more than half the time, every time they're going for a header, Manchester City is coming away with that first ball. Liverpool have the worst win rate in the air, 40.4. Van Dijk is not there, Fabinho's not there, but regardless, 40.4, under half of every time Liverpool goes up for the first ball, they're losing. So this is a stat that we've got to watch this weekend, Frankie. Long balls in the air, rebounds, anything causing an aerial duel. I think we've got to look into that because Manchester City have one of the best in the league, and Liverpool are shockingly have the worst stat in the league for that.
Yeah, I mean, the standing is the standing, and Liverpool is in first place. So if you take that, stat into consideration, I mean, the results are there. I know what you're saying, right? It gives you a little bit of sense who's actually winning those aerial balls and who's getting up and who's fighting for those. You could probably say that Man City is a little bit hungry when it comes up in the air. One observation, which I haven't really seen done in a long time, especially coming from Pep, is I've seen a couple of times where the goalie's actually kicking the ball out versus passing it into the defense, and they're just throwing out Hail Marys up there. I have not seen Guardiola do that kind of game in a long time. He's really mixing it up.
You're right.
Which is like, okay, so this is sort of the beginning of the season. We're still in the beginning of the season. He's trying new things. I like the fact that he's actually trying new things and that the stats are in his favor. He must have been preparing for that, This is not something by chance that he's winning these balls and he's kicking these things up, right? All these balls up in the air. That's like not common in the last few years when I've seen possession.
No, I think it's more so for me as a defensive statistic is how many of your defenders are winning the balls. I think it's, these long balls are important, but for me it's how you defend them. And whether Liverpool have to defend many balls in the air, maybe you're right, since Pep plays with the ball on the ground, Liverpool won't have to deal with as many aerial duels. But if they do, that's for me just something you've got to keep an eye on. Because the first ball is very important. You win the first ball. If you don't win the first ball, you got to win the second ball. So the winners of the first and second ball in this game are definitely going to be who dictates the middle of the play of the game.
All right, Noah, let's go to players to watch this week. Who are the players that we need to watch this week?
Look, both teams have incredible quality of players, caliber of players, but I've picked one from each team to really look at. One inside the box, obvious one, maybe not so much. De Bruyne, easy pick. Everybody knows De Bruyne's the best player in Manchester City. He's the captain. He's the Premier League Player of the Year reigning. He got 20 assists last year, tied Thierry Henry's record in the Premier League of all-time assists. He hasn't played to that capacity yet. Yeah. We're still looking for that big game, and I am too. He's on my fantasy team. But I need that big game, and I think Manchester City needs that big game. He needs to step up. You need to get him on the ball. He makes that team tick. He keeps the possession. He keeps the flow, the momentum, the pace, the tone of the team moving. He's really the orchestrator. He is the orchestrator for them. That's all I can put for him with Manchester City. So he's the man to watch your City, don't you think?
Perfect. How about Liverpool? Yes, I do agree with you. I mean, De Bruyne is somebody that you always enjoy looking. He's a playmaker. He makes things happen. Obviously, assists, goals. He scores some goals as well. Obviously, he's ready to take the foul shot, right? And anything that comes with it. So it will be good to see how he steps up to this game. Obviously, everybody's expecting him to carry the team, right?
I agree.
Okay.
And for Liverpool, I would say outside the box, maybe not so much with the recent form of his, but he's definitely not a starter. And this is Diogo Jota. They brought Diogo Jota in, the Portuguese from Wolverhampton Warriors. They brought him in this summer, and he was really supposed to be, squad depth for Mane or Salah if one of them got hurt, or Firmino. But he has done almost the opposite. He's pushing one of them out. He has scored in his 3 last games. He scored a hat-trick against Atalanta this past week. It was a 5-0 win for Liverpool, and he scored 3 of them. And he's looking really good. And he's a striker/winger/attacking midfielder, just an attacking third kind of player. So for me, it's going to be really crucial for Klopp to get this guy in the game from the start. I don't know if that means taking Firmino out with his poor form for Jota up front. I don't know if that means putting Jota behind the front 3, but somehow they need to get Jota into the starting lineup. I'm telling you, he's going to make the difference, and he's also on my fantasy team.
No kidding. All right, so that's how you're winning the fantasy league. Okay, so we covered the players to watch. No doubt. I totally love what you're saying about these players. It would be great for Klopp to mix it up a little bit and actually bring this kid in from the beginning and see how he can perform during a full game at this level with the best teams and the best players in the league. So let's see if he actually listens to you. I mean, hopefully he sees this YouTube video and he actually changes his whole strategy and includes them.
Yeah.
Right? Calls you out. Thank you, Noah, for the advice.
Yeah, thank you, Frankie and Noah show.
All right.
That's taking us to the final thoughts, Frankie.
What are the final thoughts, Noah? Where are we going with this?
I'm thinking, look, both teams have been okay. Liverpool have been better than okay, but they haven't been great. And they're missing Van Dijk, and they're missing Fabinho. And Firmino is on a pretty dry stretch of form. And Salah and Mane are both pretty good, we know. And Manchester City, same thing. Defense is looking weak. They just keep buying new defenders, and it just seems it doesn't really fix the problem. Sterling and Aguero haven't really got going, and De Bruyne has been good, but he hasn't been great. There's a lot of factors going into this game. Neither team has really put in a performance yet where you're saying, wow, that's that team, that's that title-winning team. And so I think with a performance like that from either of these teams this weekend, it can kickstart a real momentum in this title race, because between these two teams, frankly, it's going to probably go till the end. So for me,
what's your prediction?
My prediction, I think what you said earlier almost made me change my mind. I think you're right. Liverpool being at Manchester City might not have that much of a play with the fans here. And that element of a practice game, almost, I think Liverpool thrive in that because they're just so casually good. The way I've watched them, that's what's giving me that thought. But you know what? I'm going for a crazy game. I'm going for 3-2 Manchester City. It's going to be back and forth. And it's going to be a goal fest. But I think in the end, Manchester City are going to pull it out. And they've got that game in hand. So Manchester City are going to be on the way back to Liverpool, for sure.
Dang it. I'm not that optimistic, to be honest with you, about this being like a big game, like scoring game. I wish it was.
The last games have let us down. The last Premier League games have let us down.
Games have let us down. You're expecting a goal fest. There's nothing more that I would love to have a goal fest during this game, right? I don't care how many goals, but as long as there's more than 3 goals, that would be fantastic. But I'm not feeling optimistic. I really think that this is a 1-0 game lead for Man City.
Wow.
Yep, and that's the model prediction.
So 2 Manchester City predictions this week. We'll see.
Yeah,
Hopefully we're right. Hopefully we're right.
Hopefully we are.
All right, I think that's going to be it. Next week, we've got an international special episode we'll be doing. Next week is international break. We're not going to spoil what games we'll be covering yet, but don't be afraid to check into that next week, and we'll be back with that, Frankie.
Yeah, and help us out with some of these polls. And we're going to start a little bit of a poll this week, and we want to ask you.
I think our question was, what was it?
It's about whether you think that a home field advantage
really matters with the COVID regulations.
Yeah, well, stadiums being empty, does it really matter to have a full stadium? Is a home advantage or not?
Or do they still feel at home without the fans? You let us know. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.
Peace out.